Hey guys, Kelly here from Kelly Chassis Fine Art, and this week we're going to focus on, can I really paint with alcohol inks and make it look realistic? Yes, you can. So we're going to paint an apple today, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by, and if you can, make sure you click that subscribe button down below, the red one, and then click that little bell beside it, and you'll be sure to see next Tuesday's video. So stick around to the end of the video today and find out what next week's video is going to be. It's going to be fun. Hey guys, I just want to thank you so much for all of the subscribers and for all of you folks that are hanging out watching me paint. I really appreciate it. And we were so close. Nah, not really. I think we have 100. I call that close. We're close to getting the 500 likes that I was really pushing for the last video on the feathers. But, you know, we got 5,000 subscribers now, so we're going to still do the giveaway. I'm going to call 3 names out at the end of this video, so stick around and find out who's going to be able to try the free resin course. So if you're ready to start, I'm going to be using a little 5x7 piece of Yupo paper here, and I'll also be using some Panada inks. And I will give you the list of all the materials again in my shop, and that will be below in the comment section under show more, so you can find all of those in there. Now for colors for the Panada inks, I'm going to be using the yellow, I'll be using some of the forest green, I'll also be using the chili pepper red and black, and then I'll also use the cleanup solution in place of alcohol this time. Mentioned the Exciter pack has magenta, does not have the chili pepper red, so you could also use watermelon from Ranger for that as well, or cranberry, really any kind of reds, watermelon, whatever you have will work. So I have this lovely little palette here that I'm going to be using in place of my dish that I used last week. I've been using plates, so I picked this up. It's a little ink palette. I had one before, it was old and I had broke it, so I'm going to use my fresh one here. So I've put in the chili pepper red, I've used the yellow, the forest green, and the black, and I've put that in there. Now you can see I've made a mess because I've practiced one other one before on some glossy paper, and I'll add a photo for you on that. Well, it actually turned out pretty good. It was quite detailed. I used the Adirondack alcohol ink cardstock by Ranger. I have some colors already pre-mixed here on the side, but I'm just going to use a very light wash. This is mostly the cleanup solution in the bottom tray here, and I've added just a little bit of the red to that, and I'm just going to very lightly, this is the way I sketch, instead of using pencils, especially with Yupo paper, because you can see all of those lines and they're really hard to erase. This is a really easy way just to kind of sketch it in. Now with alcohol inks, these things do tend to grow, so I advise you to start out smaller when you're painting this in, because it will tend to get larger in some cases. So I have the, you can't see it in there because it's bare, but I have the cleanup solution in one of those little trays there, and I'm just going to try to see if I can lighten this up a little bit, because this is where the white is, or the reflection is in the apple. And I'll let me put the apple up here for you so that you can see my reference photo. The reflection, that's the word I was looking for, the reflection or the highlight in the apple where the white is. That didn't work real well. I don't actually have any white. Can you believe it? I am out of white. I don't have the Panada white or the Ranger white. What to do? I have placed an order for the 4-ounce bottle, and I am hoping that's going to be coming in soon. Not soon enough, right? So I'm going to be working without it. So I'm going to try a few other little tricks here, and we'll see if they work. So now that I've got that basic shape in there, I'm going to enrich that with a little bit deeper shade of the red. Now you may find that your inks may dry out in your little palette there. I will sometimes add the fresh ink to the palette, or I will use the cleanup solution to help maneuver those inks a little bit more. So now I'm just trying to get in some of those darker areas and creating my values, my different shades of red here. And as you can see, the paint now has dried a little bit in my palette, so it makes it a little bit easier to work with. You'll find with alcohol inks, if your alcohol inks are wet, they want to bloom and grow, and they'll easily go out of the area that you are initially putting them into. You can see where this is blooming, where it's really wet right now. So you have to be careful with that, especially when you're working your outer edges with that. So once that dries a little bit on your brush, you can almost use it like you would a regular ink or watercolor or even a pen as this dries out. I'm going to put in a little stem there. Got the shape going pretty well, and I will tell you this, I lose that shape a little bit. I always like to tell you guys, you know, all of the mistakes that I make, because if it helps you, that's even better. And you know what? I say this all the time, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And that's the great thing about with alcohol inks, because you can, you know, go where they want to take you sometimes. So let's use a little bit of the yellow here, just going to shape in that leaf. Again, taking a lighter shade rather than using that really dark green to start with. I'm going to layer this a little bit, and we'll get a little darker as we go along. So you can see here where I am mixing my own colors basically right in those little palettes. Love to do that. I'm a watercolorist by nature. No, that makes sense. I'm a watercolorist before I was an alcohol ink artist. So a lot of these techniques you learn mixing your paints and such with watercolor is very similar with the alcohol inks. So I'm going to sharpen up that stem. Now my black is extremely dry in here, so you can see I'm barely picking up anything, which is a good thing because you don't want this too dark initially. So we've got a nice base here. Let's go ahead and clean out your brush. Each time I have a little napkin on the side here, and I'm using that cleanup blending solution just to kind of clean my brush whenever I'm switching out the colors if it's not working for what I need. Now I'm going to go a little bit darker here, and of course I started, when I touched this, I touched it on the bottom first because this is where my deepest shades are going to be. So if I'm unsure about my color, that's what I'll do. Or you can also use a test sheet on the side there. I'm going to add a little bit of the blending solution, or that cleanup solution, which is more like alcohol but less smelly, to that red, and I'm going to put in that shade area. You can see in the photo reference here how dark that is. So I'm just going to tap in colors wherever I see that darker shade of red here. And I'm just kind of blending that. Making sure that I'm not going too dark initially, because what will happen if you get it too dark, it's really hard to lighten. So you're adding these deeper shades slowly. Let's add a little bit more of that cleanup solution to the black. See how that reactivates that? It's just like with watercolors. When watercolor dries out, when the water is gone, you're just left with the pigment, and it's the same thing with the alcohol inks. So I want just a little bit a lighter shade here. It's just a little bit too dark. I don't dare to put the black in there yet, even though on the bottom of that apple where that dark shade is, it's almost black. I'm going to tap off the excess there. And let's go in. I've got a little skinny brush now. This is a 10/0, and I'll put a link for these. I used these last week. I absolutely love these brushes. They're so easy to hold on to, and they work very well with the alcohol inks. They are a nylon brush. So I can get a really fine, sharp line there. So I'm adding that darkness to the underneath of the apple now. Now this is going to be a lot of layers. This doesn't happen immediately. You have to add these layers upon layers. It makes it look more realistic. If you just were to put a bright red on here with no other shades or values, it just doesn't work. It doesn't do the same thing. So I'm going to sharpen the edge here a little bit, and you can see where that was a little bit darker up on the top there as well. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and you can watch this progress, and then when we get to doing some little fine details, we'll slow it back down for you. All right, now that we've got that darker shade in here, we're going to add a little bit more highlights. And now I'm using the white Signo gel pen for this, just to create some of those little dots on there that we have on the apple. And I'm going to highlight a little bit more. And this is because I didn't have any Blanco, but I wanted to make sure I had a nice amount of highlights in here. And since I'm using Yupo paper, I could have masked this out with a masking fluid, but I do things the hard way sometimes, and I didn't do that. So this gives you options, right? So now you can see that this is quite white. So we're going to put this in here, and then we're going to soften it just a little bit. So I'm trying to hit all of those really bright white areas. Give a little highlight here in the leaf as well. And then we're going to go ahead and soften that after. Maybe a little bit in the stem there. It's funny when you watch it back, and I have my apple sitting up here on the left-hand corner, it's so much easier to see your mistakes when you look back at this, but when you're actually in painting it, that's why it's really good to kind of step away from your paintings and take a look at things. Of course, I'm doing this really quickly here for you guys for the video, but you know, if I went back into this, and I could see some areas that I could still work on even when I was done, because I'm looking at this apple right in the corner on the left hand side, and I'm looking at the one that we're painting. So it's always good to have your reference photo. I have the reference photo. I just did the apples, just a free Google image that they allow for folks to download. Make sure that's very important. Unless, you know, if you're just practicing, it's not a big deal, or you're not selling your work. But, you know, these images are copyrighted on here, so make sure that you are using an image that they're okay with you using. So I downloaded it onto my iPad, and so I have my iPad up here on the left-hand side, but it's, you know, it's a good reference photo for you. So hopefully you can see this while you're painting along. So a couple more dots. So I softened that a little bit, And I'm going to go and put some more back in. And I'll also put a link for the pens in the show more section down below as well for you. So you can see how you can add a little bit more of that cleanup solution to lighten it if you're not getting an area that's quite light enough. And that's what I did up at the top here. And then you just can kind of blend it and soften that again. You may have to wait for it to dry a little bit before you can kind of work it. And add maybe just a little bit more blending solution here. And we're going to add a little bit of black to that. I'm going to make my shadow down on the bottom here now. And you can see from the photo reference how it is very light as it comes out to the edges there, and it's still a little bit deeper right directly underneath the apple. So you just have to do this very carefully again. You don't want this to be too dark. I'm going to get a little bit of black in there first to sharpen the edge while that dries a little bit. And I'm bringing those up just a little bit on the underneath of this. So, you know, you could sit here and play with this for a lot longer, but this gives you a nice basis of an apple. And I'll show you the final result here at the end, but I do want to show you, this is the paper that I had used for the second one, and it's a lot richer. The apple, I put a lot more deeper colors in there, and I added a little bit more details to it. But the glossy paper was quite nice for actually doing this type of work on. I've used in the past for backgrounds, and I wasn't as happy with it, but it worked out quite well when I was doing the apple. And you can see here on the right hand side the second one that I did, so it's a little bit richer. And I worked the other one just a little bit more. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope this is helpful. So next Tuesday's video, check it out.
So guess what I got in the mail? I got glow-in-the-dark powders for my next resin coasters. Oh, it's even got a little unicorn on there. Uniglow, that's what they're called. Glow-in-the-dark powders. I'm not sure what colors I should use. You guys should tell me. Should I do aqua, greens, pinks, reds, sky blue, orange, yellow? Let me know your thoughts. So I'm going to test these out for next week. Can't wait to see the results. So if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and give us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the new videos. Again, I'm really trying to push Tuesday videos for you guys each week. So if there's things that you want to see, please get in there, make your comments, let me know what it is that you'd like to see. Because I'm doing alcohol inks, I'm doing resin, I'm doing watercolors, and even jewelry. So if there's certain things or certain projects that you want to see, I would love to hear it, because sometimes I have, instead of writer's block, I have artist block, and I can't think of anything to paint. So I need your help.
Okay, so thanks again for the 5,000 subscribers. Hopefully we'll do well on this video. You guys can click that like button. So who are the winners? Congratulations to number 893, Jerry. You get a free class, and I'll email you. We also have member number 1371, Georgina Dodds. You are a winner as well, so I'll email you. And lastly, we have member number 1049, Kathy Joy. So congratulations, you guys, and I'll get that out today for you. And I do have full online classes. You can check those out on my website at www.kellychatseyfineart.com. Thanks, we'll see you guys next week.